You're losing money every single day just by letting leads sit in your inbox. But what if an AI agent could turn those emails into booked appointments without you lifting a finger? In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an AI sales agent that reads your email inbox, classifies the emails based on different categories, researches the lead and what business they're from and what they're about, replies back to those emails in your specific brand voice, and schedules appointments with those leads whenever necessary. And all of this is done automatically. By the end of this, you'll have a fully working system that turns cold leads into booked appointments and new opportunities. And we're going to walk through this entire automation step by step. Also, this entire workflow and the prompts necessary to make this thing run are going to be available in my resource hub. And so in the resource hub, I share all of the AI agents that I build out on this channel. And so that is a completely free resource. You could just go ahead, click the link below this video, and then you could sign up to that resource hub. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the way that this AI agent works is that it gets triggered anytime an email comes in to your inbox, and then it classifies the email. And so I've set up different categories for a real estate agent that are emails that a real estate agent would typically get. And so this is buyer inquiries, seller inquiries, any vendors or partners, invoices or receipts from people that they do business with, any sort of internal communications or team communications from their brokerage, from fellow agents, etc. That would go in this path. And then we have personal, anything that's personal related, spam or low priority, any marketing related messages from companies and so I've just categorized this email in this way. You can categorize your email inbox depending on what type of emails you get and what type of emails you want this agent to respond to. And for this example, we're going to focus on seller inquiries. And so our AI agent, once it clarifies that this is a seller, a prospective seller reaching out, it's going to pass it along to this AI agent. And then this AI agent is going to be able to do some research on that particular person, find their LinkedIn, find any info that they can on the internet about them. It's going to look at previous messages, and then it's going to be able to book an appointment if necessary. If the person is asking for an appointment, it can book an appointment for them. Now, it's also connected to a very important tool, which is retrieval augmented generation, RAG as commonly used. And so this is just a database that stores information about you as, in this case, a real estate agent or a business owner, whatever you want it to know about you. And so I have two documents that are uploaded into our database, and I'll get into more detail later, but this essentially, it knows how you like to speak, your brand voice, and it knows all the details about your business that are relevant. So it can answer questions about your business that a customer or a prospect might ask. And so that's pretty much how this AI agent is going to work. And we can make this more complex. We can draft the emails. If you'd like to add yourself in the loop, you can make this a little bit different. And so for demo purposes, I'm going to send myself an email to this email inbox saying, hey, can you help me sell my home? So I just sent myself a test email, and so we can see this got the most recent email and classified it correctly as a seller inquiry. And I can show you this email really quick. I just said, help me sell my home. Thanks, Damon. And so this AI agent is running. And now we see this workflow ran successfully. And let's see if Damon got a, yep. So we just sent that email as Damon. It says, hi Damon, I'd be happy to assist. Provide you a brief overview of the services we offer. We offer XYZ. Let's set up a time. Looking forward to your response. And then it added my name, the kind of signature that I added. I left the phone number blank here on purpose, but we can modify this. So I specified the font. I specified everything about how to format this email as well. So I'll show you how to do that. But this shows exactly what functions, what tools were called from the AI agent. And so you could see it did some research. It checked the events in our calendar. It replied, it got the message, and it used the LLM. So that is essentially how this is going to work. And we're going to start by building this out completely from scratch. And we are going to just go and create a new workflow, and then I'm going to show you how to build all of this. Like I mentioned, this entire workflow set up exactly like this is available in the resource hub. So if you just want to grab that and then upload, all you have to do is click import file, and then you can just upload this JSON file, and this uploads the entire workflow. And so you can get this going in 5-10 minutes, but I'm going to explain this out step by step so that you actually understand how this workflow works. Okay, so the way that we start this is we need a trigger to start our workflow. In our case, it's going to be every time an email lands into our inbox. And so that means we're going to have a Gmail trigger and they have this really nice trigger set up for us, which is on message received. We want to connect our Gmail account on this. So there's some OAuth authentication required, and it's super simple. You can go to the docs here and it's actually step-by-step. It'll just tell you how to do it. So once you connect your Gmail account, then you say event message received. We don't want to simplify. We want it to return everything that it returns. And then we can just go ahead and click fetch test event, nothing else to do here. And we can see it grabbed a recent email for us, the most recent email, as a test event, which is good. And then what happens when that email comes into our inbox? We need to classify the email. We need to see what type of email is this. So we do that with a text classifier. So our text that we pass in is going to be json.text. So I really like N8N's UI in this, like their user interface. It is just super simple to drag and drop, and you get to utilize this as the input, the json.text, and then we get to add categories. And so we're going to classify this into categories that are relevant for our, if this is your personal account, your personal life, or your business, if this is your business account. So the way that I've done it for a real estate agent is I've laid out these specific categories, and I create them here in N8N, and then I also create these labels in my Gmail folder. And so I'm just going to quickly type out all of the categories. And then with every category, we want to give the AI some sort of a description on what that category is so that I can properly categorize it. Sometimes it can just tell based on the name of the category. The descriptions definitely do help. All right, fantastic. So I have added all of the categories here, and then just want to make sure that you add your labels that match exactly to these categories. And then we should be all good for that text classifier. And so we can just click out of that. And now for every single step, we want to create a Gmail response. Okay, so now our classifiers are set. We need to pass all of this in to a large language model. This is essentially going to mean that the classifier takes all the instructions, passes it into, in this case, ChatGPT, and then it's going to classify our email properly. In order to get access to this, you're going to want to go to platform.openai.com, and then you're going to go here into API reference. You're going to go to this page right here, create a new secret key, name the key N8N key, and then select a project and then create the secret key. And then you are good to go there. Copy, paste that API key here. When you create a new credential, paste that here, and then you're all set. You can select whichever model you'd like. The newer model that you use, the more expensive it's probably going to be on your API costs. So I just use 4.0 mini, and it classifies these options very well. And so you can select that, test workflow just to run, to get data so that we can start to see how this works. Next, we're going to actually add labels to the messages. And so these labels, if you'll see here, like this type of an email was labeled as seller inquiries, which is correct. And we just need to add that label into our Gmail inbox as the first step in the path. And so we're going to add label to a message. In this case, it's buyer inquiries. And so we want to add label. What I'm actually going to do here is, since the test step was for a seller inquiry, we are going to just add label for a seller inquiry, because if you see here, we actually have data on this particular path. And so we want to go back to the Gmail trigger and then move this message ID to reference the proper email that was received. And then we're going to categorize it with the correct email, which in this case is seller inquiries. And then that is going to be all set for this one, and then you'd want to rename it seller inquiries just so it's easy for you to remember. I always recommend to name all of these things. It just makes it a lot simpler. And then you can duplicate this, and then you can go ahead and connect this to the next one. Let's go back to buyer inquiries, delete this one and connect that one. And then we can change this name obviously to buyer inquiries, and then add the label that's already set up. We want to change the label to buyer inquiries, and then we're good to go. And we can do the same thing for vendors. And so then I'm just going to run through all of these and set all this up. Amazing. So we have all of this set up, all of these categories and paths. So whatever type of email comes in, it's going to add the correct label. And then if it is a seller inquiry in our case, we're going to build out the AI agent that takes it, decides what to do with it, and then responds, schedules appointments, does research, etc. We're going to do all of those steps next. So before we pass it into our AI agent, we are going to want to take all of the inputs and store them as variables. And so the way that we do that is we just have this module called edit fields. And so what we can do is we can execute previous nodes. We see that there's an email sent, and we can add specific fields. Let me just type in the fields that we're going to need. We're going to need the ID of the email so that it knows which email. We're going to need the body of the email, the text. We're going to need the subject line of the email. We're going to want to have the date, and then we want to know who sent the email. And so we're going to add that as well. And all of these are going to be values. And so we are going to drag these over to the corresponding values. And so in our case, JSON ID. And so we are going to go back to our Gmail trigger, reference the ID of the email that was sent. We're going to get the email body, which is the text. We are going to get the email subject, which in this case was help me sell. And we're going to get the date from here. Where is it? Here. We're going to get the date. And then we are going to get the who sent the email. And so in this case, we could find it here. So we actually just want to drag this specific value, which is the address. So now we have mapped our email to all these fields. And then we're going to pass all these fields into our AI agent. And so that looks good to me. So we are going to move on. And then we're going to pass this in to our amazing AI agent over here that can call a variety of tools. So this AI agent, when you first input it, it comes like this. We are going to want to define our prompt below. And so we're going to have a prompt. And so I'm going to pass in all of these variables into our specified prompt. And so we're going to say email ID. We're going to pass the email ID. We're going to say date. We do want to pass in the date. We actually want to pass in the date as now to take the current date. You could honestly use this date, but I'm just going to use now as the most accurate timestamp. Then we're going to take the email body, pass in the email body. Oh, no, take the email body, pass it in right there. And then we are going to take the subject, pass it in. We're going to take who sent the email, pass it in. You could probably call it the email sender or whatever. I'm just going to call it that. And then we are good for the prompt. And then we want to add a specific system message. This is like custom instructions that we are going to give to this AI agent. Now, I have a specific system prompt that I will share with you below in the resource hub, so you can just copy and paste all of this. And so what this system prompt does is it just tells the AI agent how to act. What are its core responsibilities? How should it evaluate the response? So it analyzes the email, the key points. It does research when is necessary. It schedules appointments when necessary, and it responds to the email. And it gives design guidelines on how to respond. And so if you saw earlier in our email, the specific font that we used, Avenir font, we used a specific text, our signature block, etc. And we actually gave the HTML for how this should all be formatted. And so I had the signature here, and then we have our font, etc. So all of this is going to be copied, Command A, and then we are just going to pass that into our system message. And then we are good to go on this AI agent. Now, obviously it's going to show red. It's not going to be happy because we have not connected it to all of the necessary components. So we need a chat model to go with it. A chat model can just be OpenAI, and OpenAI is good. It doesn't need any particular input from us. And then we're going to leave the memory the way that it is. It doesn't need any memory. So this AI agent has the ability to call specific tools. As you can see from the system prompt, we told it when to research, when to schedule, and when to respond. And so we are going to give the AI agent all of these tools. So the first tool we can build is Perplexity, which is a research assistant. It's an AI tool very similar to ChatGPT. I'm sure you've either heard of it, used it before. N8N does not have a specific module to connect to Perplexity. And so we are just going to create an API request using this HTTP request module. And so we are going to go in here and type in the specific URL, and then we're going to paste that URL, send in the headers. And so what you're going to want to do here, this is where your API key goes. And so if you go to Perplexity, create API key, similar to how I just created the API key for ChatGPT, you want to type bearer and then paste your API key here. I'm not going to show that step for this video, but I'm going to paste that in and come back. And then we are going to add a send body. We're going to add a specific JSON payload that we are going to pass. And this JSON payload is going to be pasted here. And so this is just specifying which model to use. The placeholder is the message from the AI. So the AI agent is going to determine what message to send in the content. And then it's going to say it's a user role. Nothing else to do there. I'm going to add the API key and then come back. All right, we're going to hit save. And then that HTTP request is all set. I'm just going to rename this Perplexity Research. So that's one tool set up. Now we are going to set up our calendar next. So our calendar is going to do two things. We're going to need to grab all of the events, and then we're going to need to be able to schedule an event. And for our Google Calendar, we want to first get all of the events. So then we want to select our Google Calendar module. In this case, we don't want to create an event yet. We will do that next. We want to grab all of the events from the last week in order to see the availability that we have on our calendar. And instead of returning all events, we're just going to return 50 events, which I'm assuming you don't have 50 events in your calendar for this week, but that's how we're going to do it. And then that is going to be set. So we selected which calendar we want to use. I just put 1 week. I think that's the default. And we're just going to leave that the way that it is. Feel free to modify that to your needs. If you want to just check a day or a specific month, you could do it however you'd like. Once we get that, we are also going to give this AI agent the tool to be able to create an event. And so in this case, we're just going to create a 1 hour long call. If you want to make it 30 minutes, you can make it 30 minutes. So that's pretty much all you need for the event. What I would do here is I would just add the attendee for the event as this person who sent the email. The person that sent the email is also the attendee for the event. So perfect. That event is now created. So our Google Calendar is set up. Now we just got to reply to the message. So for our Gmail, where we reply to the message, we want to do it very similarly to how we just did Google Calendar. We want to grab all of the messages and then we want to reply to the message. So we want to get all. So we will go to Gmail and then we are going to say get, we're going to return 50 emails and then we are going to reply. And so the operation is to reply. And so we are going to use the edit fields in order to correspond this to the correct message ID because we're replying. And then in terms of the message, we want to take the output from the AI agent and return that as the response. And so in our case, that's just going to be this JavaScript code right here, which is going to be the return of this AI agent. So we're going to hit save. So that pretty much completes the agent part of this setup. And that's most of what this needs to do, which is classify a message, pass in those fields to an AI agent, decide how it wants to reply, do some research, check your calendar, reply to the message. The only thing is it doesn't know anything about your business. It doesn't know how you like to respond. And so we are going to connect this to a database that has our information in Google Docs in our case, and we are going to pass that into the AI agent as additional context. We do this using what's commonly known as retrieval augmented generation, and I've gone over this in a lot of detail in a recent video, and so I will link that video up above where I explain this in a lot more detail if you'd like to go and check that one out. But I'm just going to set this one up by allowing it to have a vector store. In this case, the vector store is going to return back the most relevant 4 chunks of data from our database. And so this database is going to be set up in Pinecone. We're going to create an index in Pinecone. And so when you go to Pinecone, we're going to create an index. And so I have set up this index as email agent demo. And so in order to create an index, you want to first create an account. Pinecone, it's a free account. And then you can go ahead and click create index, type in the name of the agent. You can say demo or email agent, whatever you'd like. I typically use this embedding model, this text3 embedding small. I make sure to keep out a watch for the dimensions, and then you can just hit create index there, and it's going to create it for you. And then when you come into N8N, you can go ahead and use your Pinecone database as the vector store. And again, you can do your API connection, connect your Pinecone account, and you can retrieve documents from your database. And we are going to use the email agent demo. So this shows you the different indexes that we have, and we can just use email agent demo. And this Pinecone database is going to need an embedding. And so we're just going to use OpenAI. Make sure we use the same model that we used for our database. And so if you remember when we created this index, we have the embedding model for text3 embedding small, and we want to use that same model here. And so we have that set up and we are good to go there. The only thing we need is a large language model to connect this to. And for this large language model, I'm just using the same thing, OpenAI 4.0 mini. Feel free to change this. You can also make this something like Claude 3.7. You can use DeepSeek, Gemini. You can use OpenRouter, which is a tool, like a third-party tool, where you can connect different large language models. You can have backup large language models if one of them fails. So there's all types of creative ways to do this. I'm just using ChatGPT for our purposes, and it does a really good job on this. And then we are going to hit save. And that is the entire setup. The only thing that I have not gone over is how to actually insert data into your database, right? So we did set up this database, but if you just created this, you're not going to have anything inside of your database. And so the way that we do that is with this particular workflow, which I've gone over in another video in detail in terms of how this is set up, but just really quick, I run this manually. And so what I've done is I've connected this to my Google Drive. And so I have a specific Google Drive folder that has both of these documents. So I have this document that outlines my specific brand voice. So it outlines how I like to speak, how I like to position myself as a real estate agent, what language I use, what the tone of voice is, what are some of the key phrases that I would like to use when I describe my services, and good examples of writing in my brand voice. You can make this a lot more detailed. When we work with clients, we make our brand voice guidelines very, very detailed to pass into the AI in order to make sure that it gets the best output possible. And so that's one document. The other document is just, what does your business do? Tell me about your business. Tell me about your ideal client. What are their mistaken beliefs, false objections, etc.? And so this is our focus. This is what we do as an agency, the specific problems we solve, our differentiator. This is our ideal avatar. These are our pain points that we solve, common objections that we hear, etc., etc. This is a 20-page document. So I uploaded all of this into our Pinecone database. And I did this just by running this workflow. So if you want to see how I build this out in detail and actually see what steps are required and have me explain this, check out the other video. I will leave a link to it up above, and you can walk through this as well in order to actually fill up your database with the key information that you need so that your email agent actually gets what it needs in order to function. Now we are good to go, and we are just gonna do another test to make sure that this works properly. So for the test, I'm just gonna send myself an email and then show you how this works. All right, so I just sent myself an email. So let's quickly run this test workflow to grab the most recent email, see that it has classified it as a seller inquiry. It has taken the fields from the email. It has passed it to our AI agent. It is using our vector database to answer questions. And then we are going to see a reply to that email in just a second. But you can see, what I like about this is you can see exactly which path the AI agent took. So you can see in this case, it did not go to our calendar because I haven't asked to book a meeting. Like in that email, we didn't ask to book a meeting yet. So we got the response from the AI agent, and it looks like this. I'd be happy to assist you. Can we set up a time to discuss how I can help you through this process? Please let me know your availability. So that's the response, and the format is as we specified in the prompt. And so as you can see, this will save you a ton of time managing your inbox and also classifying the emails as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. Like I mentioned, you can go click the link below to grab this whole workflow from the Resource Hub. And if you would like to have something like this built out for your business, feel free to check out the link below, and you can book a call with my team and I to see if we can help you build something like this. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.